Okay.
Marc, you're online.
So it's a completely different talk. It's just about what we are doing here with Brazil. And in particular, I will present you a lab that have been built since 4 years now and get renewed for next 4 years. So it's an experience, and the reason why we participate to this school is just to show you and try to find some support or some help or some possibilities of collaborations through this lab. So this is just an informal presentation, just to show you some figures, some ideas. The next step will be more important, that is on the coffee break, so we can have discussions, what we can do together, and what could be done with the collaboration between our lab, LIG, and the INF, Department of Computer Science in URGES in Rio Grande do Sul, and how we could just join our efforts so that we can produce something. So in fact, there is a very, very long collaboration between France and Brazil, and in particular in Grenoble with URGES. So I compute things, but I don't know. We have more in the last, so we have 35 years of collaborations. So we have many professors in URGES and professors in Grenoble that have been in Brazil, and reciprocally, and so on. You have a huge amount of PhD theses and so on. And so for only the last 5-6 years, we have more than 200 joint publications between our two institutes. So it's quite important. So there is a very strong collaboration on that. We have many joint PhD. So from the beginning, and we have 32 in parallel and distributed computing since the beginning. So you have an idea of what is behind. And if you look at the number of exchanges and journey trips and so on, we have more than 100 in 6 years. So that's an idea of the volume of all of this. We have, in the last 6 years, we have about 10 CAPES-COFECUB programs, 2 CNPK in RIA and 1 CNPK CNRS. We have 4 associated teams. Perhaps we can also have a discussion about that. 3 STICAM Sud and European projects. We are beginning on these projects to have an activity at a European level. In the league, you have more than 8 teams that are joined with some colleagues in URGES, and more specifically, you have 3 teams in high performance computing that are deeply involved in the collaboration, and one or two new teams from GetAlp and speech processing teams that now have been they get associated team with URGES, and so that's a new activity. Not new, but it has strengthened since 2 or 3 years. So this is the last workshop we have here in this building, and so every year we have a workshop, 1 year in Porto Alegre and 1 year in Grenoble, and so we have exchanges, and we just try to take benefit from these venues to have other meetings around the workshop of the LICIA. The idea is just we try to put people together, and so if we have common project, CAPES-COFECUB projects and so on, we just put the meetings around so we can take benefit from other contracts. So this is, we are between 50 or 60 people in each meeting. And it's around 20 from Brazil and 40 in France when we are in France, and 50 or more in Brazil and 20 from France when we do that in Porto Alegre. So this is a project for the new 4 years. And so we have, the idea is the following. The first 4 years, we just state things, make many conferences that are general purpose so that we get information about what are the different labs. So we try to have representation of almost all teams from League at URGES. Almost, I'm not sure that we cover all, but most of our teams or our teams in our lab have been presented in URGES, and reciprocally many researchers and professors from URGES came to France just to present what their activities. So then we try to put people together, make some marriage. You know that it's an incomplete problem, but don't worry about that. We try to marry people. And so we try to make some emergence of new collaboration teams. The idea is we have strong collaborations on some teams, and we have the knowledge of how to do things in terms of collaboration, and take benefit from this knowledge just to help other teams to get in touch. And also because we have strong teams and collaborations, we have some funding. And so at some moment, you have one student from one team that want to go to Brazil and so, and we say, okay, we just take some money from this contract just to initiate a new proposal there. So this is typically, for example, in our team, for example, smart cities, there are some teams in Grenoble that could be interested in that. There are teams in Porto Alegre, and so we can find some small support just to help to, for example, if you have a student that is coming to Grenoble, so we can just pay for housing, or just take a trip from another place in Europe to Grenoble, so to have a visit. And so it's small amount of money, but it's quite useful when you want just to initiate collaborations. So the idea is initiate new collaborations between the partners. So we support punctual actions. Typically, you have one guy from Porto Alegre or from Brazil that is want to come, and we organize a seminar specifically in Grenoble, and so he comes and we get the support for that. The other point is to deeper pre-existing collaborations, in particular in HPC, web science, databases, information systems, where you have already collaborations. And so we just try to just fix things, put some, some strategies, so that at any moment we know that we will have some support to practice this activity. And try also, because there is a problem in Brazil with CAPES COFECUB, when you get one, the next year you cannot get a new one. So you have holes of 1 year in the collaboration. So we try to just fill a little bit the gap between these submissions. And so if you need, for example, to have another submission, we try to help on that point. And there are two others new things that we want to develop the next years. Is first try to extend to other teams in URGES, but not only in computer science. So we have relations. For example, I have some relations with a department in geography in Porto Alegre, and I know some people in geography here. And so it could be a good opportunity to take into account that and try to put them together. So the key point is, in that case, we take benefit from the fact that we know Grenoble, we know URGES, and we have two departments, and we put them together. So the extension, so the extension is more between the two universities, so it's a local extension of the activities. And the second extension is externally. Let's say in France we have a lot of scientific networks, and so we can use locally in France these scientific networks and use scientific networks in Brazil, so we put them together. So typically we participate to the GDRI, international network, research network, called Web Science, in which we are involved as a team, and we can be a support for these activities between two networks, between France and Brazil. We are also in a network called OSCAR about high performance computing that is led by INRIA. This one is led by CNRS. And so we can just help to strengthen the communication between two networks. So typically, if we imagine a network about smart cities in France and smart cities in Brazil, and if we could help just to put links and help on the organization and things like that, we have the capability to do that. And we have this position defending the project regarding CNRS. So it should be one of our mission in the CNRS to just help the joining of research networks between France and Brazil. What is the structure of this LICIA? So it's a little bit different from classical UMRI, like LAFNIA. It's a very light structure. So we get some funding, but we don't have a moral person, as we say in France. We have no responsibilities. We just have a credit line with few money. We have about 20,000 euros per year and a little bit more. But if we aggregate all things that are done in this collaboration, we have more than €500,000 euros, including, for example, all the cost of the PhD students that comes in an exchange in this, etc. So it's very important. The amount of money around is important, but the money we have specifically for LICIA is small. So we have two universities, or three universities, or one university in France and one in Brazil. I don't know how to say that. Last year it was Université Joseph Fourier, Grenoble INP, and so Grenoble Institute of Technology, and Université Pierre Mendès France, which is on social sciences that are supporting us here, and URGES in Brazil. Now I hope that it will be Grenoble University here, just to be more clear. University Alps. It will be. But for the moment, we have just the funding through the labs, so through the tutels of the lab. And we have two institutes that are in leading on this LICIA, CNRS, the head of the LICIA, in fact, and INRIA, which is also involved in the global structure of the lab. So we have some position here that say all the French institutes should be involved in a collaboration like that, and we don't want to play one institute against another, which is quite difficult. On the side of Brazilian agencies, we have URGES and of course FAPER, which helps us a lot because we have two associated teams, and CAPES, of course, NPK, and so on. For the moment, we are two directors, one in France, one in Brazil. So Philippe Navot is head of this lab in Brazil. And we are helped by other people, and typically the directors or co-directors who are Bruno Raffin in France, and Nicolas Maya, who is now the vice-president of the international relations in URGES. And so we need some more help from another colleague from Brazil, Lucas Schnorr, who got his PhD in France, in our team. So we know all very well, and so we can make the organization easier. We have a scientific committee, and with 5 French people, French searchers, and 5 Brazilian searchers. This is the scientific committee. And we try to have a very large covering about sciences, and covering about also institutions, because you have people from many institutions inside this committee. But this is changing regularly, and so we have a global pool of people that is interested in this work. So these are the foundators of the lab. And these are the scientific scopes. So we have specific topics. I just focus on one, which is associated team EXAS. And these are the three big directions that covers globally almost all the themes that are in the league. Almost all. So if you are in one theme, we can find you someplace to put you here. So don't worry about that. And so we have, in these activities, we have two associated teams, one about energy and HPC, exascale computing, and one with natural language processing, which is IM West, that is led by Laurent Bezacier, who is in that, and Carlos Ramish, who was a PhD here and now has a position in Marseille. So it's quite open, as you can see. So these are just some figures about the activities. And you have here the new projects for the last 2 or 3 years. So you have many activities. Now, for the moment, yeah, there are some activities that I didn't detect because they are too much, and people are not advising me about what they are doing. But typically, you have a huge amount of activities. Some of them are hidden, as I say. Typically, people in fundamental computer science, I know, I discover that there are some collaborations, and sometimes they say me, oh, you don't have 2 or 3 days. Just I have a professor that is coming, we are finishing a paper. Oh, you are working together. Okay, so I put that in the list. So that's typically the way we are working. So we just try to put things, and there is some emerging things inside. Okay, so that for the LICIA, we organize each year a workshop, and the workshop is organized in or in France or in Porto Alegre, in Grenoble or in Porto Alegre. And the last workshop was in Grenoble, and I don't put the number of participants, I can't remember, 50, a little bit more perhaps, in France. And so for each workshop, usually we have some keynote talks. The keynote talks, the objective of these keynote talks are just to introduce a new theme inside the LICIA. So typically, what could be a new collaboration between League and URGES, and with extensions, of course. So typically, we have a keynote talk from web science, one in databases, one in artificial intelligence, one, etc., one in robotic, and so on. So each year, we try to make new keynotes so that we can have a presentation, an interesting presentation. Then you have what I call new trends. New trends are what will be the new CAPES-COFECUP projects. Typically, people want to build a new project, so we have talks about these new projects, how we can help them to just to put things and try to find the partners also. Because in some projects you have several people, they don't know exactly with what could be the other partners in France. And so this type of talks could help on, oh, I know someone there, and so make the relation inside. And we have big sessions about PhD students. So all the Brazilian PhD students that are in Grenoble, they are forced to present their work. So this is quite nice because you have, it's a sort of community of PhD students and Brazilian community. And that's very good for them and for us because we discover many things, and that's a nice way. And for the last 2 years, we begin to send PhD students to Brazil also. So the difficulty in the collaboration is symmetry of collaboration. So it's quite easy. People from Brazil want to go to France to visit Europe and have scientific connections with European groups. It's more difficult in France to convince people to say, okay, now you go to Brazil, you go to do some research there. And to do that, it's quite hard. But for the last 2-3 years, we are sending our PhD students 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in the lab in Brazil. So I think this is increasing, and this is a very good thing because the collaboration remains after people go back. And so this collaboration between young searchers is of large importance for me, for us. And so from that, we try also to build some collaborations at the level of masters. So as you know, the master in Brazil is different from France, and they have more time. And it could be a very nice idea to send a master student 1 month in France so that he could just discover another place of research. And I don't know how do you survive to the terrible February month in France, but people from Brazil have some difficulties at some moment during the year, typically during winter. And so we try to explain that the life is a little bit different, and if they don't like it at all, so it's better not to come, because we have some bad experience with some students that may depression, and so it's quite difficult. So we just try to put things and also make a human contact between students and teams, so that when they come for 1 year, they are usually welcomed and they know exactly where they are going and so on, and they could prepare their journey more. It's a more human way, I would say. So it's a terrible also for relations. So couple relations, it's very hard. So, but this is the reason why we try to build a community, and we are working with Brazilian people, and we try to build something with them. I think the relations, the human relations, are the more important thing we could have here. Because if you don't have them, the relations after, scientific relations and friendship and so on, you didn't work after this moment. So that's the point. In my opinion, this is important. N'est-ce pas, Alexandre?
Yes. but they have a depression until you discover how to ski.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, but there are some periods, I know, and in November, for example, before skiing and others, and also Carnival. The first year you don't have Carnival, and the break of Carnival, it's quite difficult for Brazilian students, usually. And as you go to the north of Brazil, it's more and more important. So, no, but it's important to know that, because when you are a PhD advisor with a Brazilian student, it's quite different from a classical French student. You have another culture, you have to take it into account. So that's it. So what we have as priorities, so here you have the priorities of the different years. First exchanging working groups, and now we try to build some database of scientific subjects for masters that are co-advised by one searcher in France and one searcher in Brazil. The idea is also that in the LICIA budget, we just take some part just devoted to welcome some master students. So that's for us, it's a priority in terms of budget. We just want to reserve this part for the exchanges of masters. The reason is before it was with doctorates or PhD students, but nowadays, in fact, the decisions are taken during the master and not during the beginning of the PhD. So this is the reason why we want to have that. So what we have done, we proposed some subjects in the masters in Grenoble, and say, okay, we have a common subject, and give you some financial support, so to have a visit in Porto Alegre just after the master, before the PhD, 1 month in Porto Alegre after having the master degree. And so you have 1 month, you can go there, you will work with my colleague in Brazil, and you can do some job with that. So this is in one way, and in the other way is easier because the master in Brazil is 2 years.
3 years.
So you get more time to do that. Okay. And this is just the last workshop meeting. Okay. So if you have any questions, I don't speak about programs and research programs, but we can also have discussions about that. Yeah.
Thank you for the explanation. It's really interesting to know how this works. I and some colleagues are not from Rio Grande do Sul, we are from Rio Grande do Norte.
Yes.
And we have working since 2011, 2011, and me specifically 2010. I did my PhD stage here with November, now here doing a postdoc. And I would like to know, you said at the beginning, it's possible to be associated with LICIA. I mean, I would like to know how to be associated with the LICIA, with the procedure, if we have common works.
No, you just have to say, I want to participate to the LICIA, and you are welcome. Everyone that is here is considered as in a link with the League and Brazil, and so it's better for us to say we are links between League and Brazil, and it's more strong with Porto Alegre, but I have PhD students in other universities. I have colleagues in USP, in UFRG, and in other places, in many small universities around Rio Grande do Sul, Santa Catarina, Florianopolis, and other small universities in Rio Grande do Sul. So, in my opinion, we have few money. So I cannot give you many. But if we can collect information and share information that helps, so this is the aim of the LICIA. So it is not an organization of social events between. I know you are aware to how to do that, and I know. But just from a scientific point of view. And also, of course, if you have, for example, we have people that are going from France to Brazil because they have a collaboration with Rio, for example, and then they could say, okay, I can make a seminar in Porto Alegre. So we can get some financial support just to go from Rio to Porto Alegre. And as for Brazilians, if they want to go to visit League, and we can say, okay, we get some financial support, you are in Europe. It's not a lot of money. It's a few hundred euros. So it's possible to do that. Of course, in the limits of the budget. When I don't have money, but if I don't have, it's important for me to have people asking for me, because then I can ask to the CNRS and other institutions saying, I have a specific researcher that is coming from. He's quite important because blah 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 blah. So could you get some specific support for that? And asking as LICIA is better than asking just individually someone. That's the way it's working. And we discovered that when we apply for CAPES COFECUM program for etc. stamp LICIA, and is better than no stamp at all. So this is typically the help we could have.
Now we have a collaboration since 2008 with Villa. We, of course, we are very much more smaller than LICIA.
And we try to include people as well. We are more or less in the same boat as you. In particular, in our university, the University of North, we have a very good relationship with people from the Rio Grande do Sul. About 10% of our permanent staff has studied in the Rio Grande do Sul. So perhaps it's we need to really to try to work together a bit more than we have been doing. That's very interesting for us. And,
I think if you are so engaged, and so you have PhD in comments and so on.
yes, well, Plastic was the only one so far, but the experience was very good.
Yes, but you can have also PhD students in France or in Brazil that are not directly in co-tutel or co-advised and so on, but if they are in the same theme and they have some collaboration, you could add them. And what you can do, and I can't remember the deadline for associated teams, because there is a national program of associated teams between the FAPS and the two institutions, CNRS and INRIA. So you have FAPS with CNRS, FAPS with INRIA.
The only problem is that our FAP is not a very good one. The Landruno. It's not very active and very.
But they get some funding. They have some funding, I think. You have to check. And so what you can do.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's doable.
So what we have done before was we put one team with Porto Alegre and USP and Minas and PUC Minas. And so there is one big center and two satellites. That was PUC Minas and USP. At the end, we get a team. So we can also imagine something which is, for example, Rio Grande do Norte, which is head, but you have some satellites in Brazil that could be of interest for you. Typically, the ranking of the universities is important. So typically having USP, having Porto Alegre and some others is quite, it helps to get the grant or to get the team.
Yeah.
So
we haven't had any problems to get grants. In fact, we have been quite lucky in this matter. Of course, not big grants, but small grants just to meet in some students. And it's exactly like you have said. It's not big amount of money, but it's enough to do things together and to put people together to work.
So these teams are composed from people from laboratory here, people from the university there, and this is a how long project?
4 years.
4 years, okay.
4 years, and we have 4. So the teams are small. So you have typically 10 people on one side, 10 people in the other side, and you have 40,000 euros per year.
For that, okay.
So that's important. So we have 5 missions typically each year to go to Brazil with that. So we have the possibility to work together with small constraints. So we can take the risk of paying a student, even if it's not good at the end, but we can take the risk. So the amount of money is much larger than for the LICIA. Even if for the French part we have 20,000 euros, you have much more because you are less. You are less, and you can pay people, have a standard housing here, not trying to find some solutions that are very cheap. So it's quite comfortable. And then also you have some stamp on your activities.
Yeah,
having so that's not only the stamp of your institution in Brazil and so on, but you have CNRS and you have INRIA, which are more important, and you increase your visibility.
Yeah. Well, in Brazil, if you deal with CAPES, the support from your institution is the most important. Yeah. Like the CAPES Protectivo or stick and feel.
So that's, I think that's a possibility. And so perhaps we could have a proposition from Rio Grande do Norte, League, for example, or I don't know, perhaps another university in France. I don't, yeah, but you are in Lille, for example.
I am in Lille and I have a collaboration with them.
So you can have that. You have two big universities that say we are the leaders of this team, and you have several satellites that are behind. And
in the Brazilian side, it's more or less the same thing. It's a kind of federation we have with the Federal Institute
of
Technology. And and now we have a very close relation as well with the Federal University of Pernambuco, which is a very important one, much more than ours. It's the level of URSS in Brazil. And yes, we are.
Because I think for the visibility and for having reputation, I would say for your university, if you have, if you are coordinator of the team and you have satellites like USP or URGES and so on, they are satellites of Rio Grande do Norte. That's great. No, but so it guarantees some sort of quality also of your work, which is quite difficult when you go from, you take a project from the Brazil and you look at the universities, the ranking of the university, you say, well, that's not good. And so but if you have, from this side, you have INRIA, CNRS, and two other big universities in Brazil, and saying you are the head of that, you have a good way to say, okay, in my university, we are doing things. That's politics.
You were talking about European projects.
Yes.
There's a special call for Brazil, as I understand.
No, it was classical call.
It was a normal one.
Yes, it was FP7. It was with Jean-François Méo. So if you want some details, you ask Jean-François Méo, Mont Blanc project, which has been, there is a new one now, that is, and Brazilian universities are taken as partners.
Yes.
And this is well seen, I would say, by Europe. But this is the largest amount of money. It's quite large, but it's quite hard also, because you have a lot of work to do, and you have to hire engineers, and so it's for a big project. But for a big project, it's a very nice support. So you have the opportunity through Europe. And also in Europe, you need several universities. So I don't know what happens in Brazil, but typically with URGES, you have links with Berlin, in particular the Technical University of Berlin. You have links with universities in UK, but this is more difficult for a European project. But you have several universities in Barcelona also. So you have a network of universities in France, and you can have some network of universities, 2, 3 universities in Brazil. And in Brazil, which was FP7, you are inside, in Mont Blanc. What are the other universities in FP7 in Mont Blanc?
Minas Gerais.
Yes.
I think USP also.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have 3 universities. So that's, but it's a huge project. So you need to have a coordination. It's heavy in terms of deliverable. PUC Minas. Yeah. So I think there are opportunities. In my opinion, it's a big amount of work. to build from scratch a new project. But when it's done, it's easy to follow and to build new projects and having the partners and so on. So we are currently working on that with Jean-François Méry and for new projects. So right.
Yeah, this week here we found many ways to cooperate with people, even in Brazil.
Yes.
They are meeting the Brazilian over there.
Very useful for that, to increase our partnerships with French people, not only in the North, but people from the homeland. It was really interesting.
It's like that. Yeah.
I'm not going to get millionaire.
No, not at all. Oh, perhaps. So you can pay also in cachaça when you are very happy with it. Yeah. But also what we discover with this project, that there are some universities in Brazil that do not collaborate. And through this international collaboration, they start collaboration inside Brazil.
Yes,
And that was very funny.
yeah.
So
It was more or less our history in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We started from here.
Well, we are our department. My university is a kind of a second generation university in Brazil, in the sense that most of us have passed our thesis in Brazil. And this has very, very interesting consequences because, well, most of us as well we have did our sandwich PhDs abroad, so we have part of our studies over there. Anywhere, I myself I was in Denmark, but we have very close relationship with the important universities in Brazil. So, for instance, with this ENCP, I don't know if you are aware of this National Institute of Science and Technology in Brazil. In our department, our department participates from 5 of these institutes, which is a lot for us. In total, it was in computer science, it was 7 institutes, and we have representations in 5 of them. So we have people from URGS, we have people from Pernambuco, people from Minas. Then we are in a position where we can manage to work with many people in Brazil, and we do that. So perhaps for us it's very interesting to collaborate also with you.
But at the end, it will be collaboration between 2 networks. The scientific networks in Europe or France and the corresponding scientific network in Brazil. What we tried to do with LICIA was also to put some physical connection between Porto Alegre and here. So you will have perhaps an office of the University of Grenoble in the University of Porto Alegre. They already do that with Toulouse. It was in Recife, I can't remember, in one university in the north of Brazil. They have still an official office of the university. Sorry? Grenoble. No, Toulouse. Toulouse University. So we try to have this sort of collaboration, which is more a collaboration as it's a strong communication level, because you will exchange. It's to exchange students. It's to just have communication about all the students of all the universities from one and to the other.
It is to be part of everyone involved.
Yes. So this is one of my personal objectives. This is the reason why also I'm looking at the Department of Geography, and I'm looking to other colleagues in URGS so that we can have a connection between URGS and Grenoble. And this is, I think, Nicolas Maillard also dream. So we can have sort of mutual exchange between the 2 universities. It's a little bit different. It's not only for the purely scientific research and so on, but also for students, also because you have a huge amount of engineers in France, in our universities that are going to Urges just for the 6 months. They have to do some internship of 6 months, and they go abroad in Brazil, in Urges. So that's for these reasons that we try.
Yesterday there was the International Relations Office that came to discuss with us, and that was one of the questions, whether undergraduate students could come and go for the final project. And this can help also eventually. Some of them might do master or whatever, and in that way.
It was a critic yesterday wasn't anyone from hospitality, because in Brazil they have this hospitality initiative, which it's a very good place for this kind of project.
Receiving students.
Engineering, for receiving, and they will be very happy. And there are lots of enterprises, new enterprises.
Because
innovation pole.
Yes, like Technobook or things like that they have in Portalegre.
I don't remember if I told you.
It's much bigger than Portalegre.
Yes.
The place of Recife is really, really, really long. It's a very big issue.
Because recently, I mean, some weeks ago, their Institute of Rio Grande do Norte, signed a framework agreement. And the idea, that was one of the questions, is that they have a PME cluster. And the idea was whether some French students for their last year internship could go and be received there. And in the same way, others could come.
I think the opportunities are there. The question is how to convince students to go in our place.
Well, but that's part of our job.
The part of our job is there. So you have to show that Brazilian students will be happy in Grenoble or in the area. They have people to talk, people that know their country, people that are aware of the difficulties. You have a local network of students, so and so on. Because you have not enough places. And if we just look at all the possibilities our students have, you will just have one in Brazil or two on, I don't know, 30 students. Yeah. So that's not, so the question is to make some flows, continuous flows.
Well, the problem is also financing this experience, because that's for master students mainly, as we have problems, because undergraduates and doctoral students, it's much easier to change, to have them to travel. But for master students, it's fundamental, as you say, and it's very difficult. There are very few.
This is the reason why we put some money there. Yeah, it's quite difficult. In France, it's a little bit different because we have international programs which are different. But I agree with you. The difficulty is for master students from Brazil to go to France or to go to Europe. We didn't speak also about Science Without Border program. I don't know what happens now with this program. It will be, there will be some evolution, I don't know. But we have also to take benefit from there. But it's quite complex because rankings are difficult and it's quite a little bit obscure on the choices for the students. And I'm not convinced it's the best way, because the best way, in my opinion, is people that met and discussed. So we discuss and we just take the good solution and find who there and who there could help on the relation.
But well, historically, we have been having problems to exchange students. It's a fact that Brazil is a country who we have a certain facility to do that.
Yeah.
Then well, we should take the opportunity.
Can we discuss around coffee?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
This
very
is the last session of the school. So I thank everyone for attending. I hope that the school has been useful for you. As I said, all the slides will be online together with the videos. So please go and use them for and distribute them around your colleagues. I think that speakers will be happy to know that. I also wanted to especially thank the LICIA through Marc, who was very supportive to this school, and it shows their volunteer to help and to support this collaboration. So thank you very much. And so let's go for coffee.
That's a pleasure.
Thank you, Genoveva.
Thank you, Genoveva, for
As the other day to the video things here and